Hello everyone, and welcome to the Survivor Buff Reviews, the only channel on YouTube that reviews Survivor buffs for you. Over the past 6 years I've collected about 64 Survivor buffs, and on this channel I will be reviewing every single one, telling you if it is up to snuff with what you're expecting from a Survivor buff. As you can see from this video here, these buffs are of varying colors and types and season number, and we're just going to be talking about one of them today. So without any further ado, let's just jump into it. Okay, so here's a better angle of the buffs. As you can see, there are red buffs, blue buffs, green buffs, yellow buffs, orange buffs, purple buffs, black buffs, pink buffs, and even a brown buff. That just shows you the extent of the collection. Okay, so I was starting this video, and I didn't really know what buff to review first. I mean, as you can see, there's so many. So I was just thinking, there's this bottom row here of buffs, and these are just randomly chosen to be here based on the color and just my random picking. So I decided to pull these aside and give each one a number. And as you can see on the screen, I've put up a random number picker, and whichever number gets chosen by this picker is going to be the first buff that I review on this channel. Now, let's see what number it is. Oh, dang! Buff number 3, everyone, was chosen, which is, it just so happens to be the Survivor 30th season anniversary buff. Let's jump into it. So, as you can see with this Survivor 30th anniversary edition buff, it has the logo of every Survivor season from season 1 to season 30. Now that's pretty crazy because aside from the two Survivor 20th anniversary edition buffs, this is the only buff to have multiple season logos on it from different seasons. Hey, what's up guys? It's the Survivor Buff Reviewer back. I'm just editing this video here, and I realized that I really made a huge slip up. So I said that this was the only buff besides the 20th anniversary season buffs to have multiple logos from different seasons on it. But what I forgot to mention was there's actually a season 30. There's actually a 35 season anniversary buff, which I do have, which also has multiple logos from multiple seasons. So just wanted to fix that error. Let's keep watching the video. So even though they put every logo on this one buff, they didn't really make every single one equal. As you can see by these two logos from Survivor Tocantins and Survivor Gabon, they definitely took a severe reduction in quality compared to this fine logo down here from Survivor Worlds Apart. Now, why they did that, I really don't know, but it's definitely something to consider before buying this buff, as not every logo will be able to be enjoyed with the same enthusiasm. So, as for the buff logo on this buff, it does have the new buff logo, which, as you guys know, or as you guys will come to know, every Survivor buff from season 25 on has. The feeling to this buff is pretty soft, unlike some of the very new buffs, but this buff still does not have the same softness as the older buffs. The softness is just kind of in the middle, which is still pretty good for a buff like this. So we've looked at this buff for a bit now, but let's take a deeper look. Next to each logo on the buff, there is a little trademark symbol, which is pretty hard to notice at first, but once you notice it, you will never not notice it again. They just speckled the entire buff, and I mean, if you can get past it, it's still a great buy, but you'll have to live with knowing that there's little black dots all over the buff. Also, look at that pattern behind the logos. Little squares that say 30 and little symbols in a little pattern throughout the entire buff in the background. Now, that is a very nice detail that I expect to see on these types of anniversary Survivor buffs that we will see later on as well. Very nice detailing by the Survivor buff design crew. Now, here's what it looks like inside out. Honestly, one of the better looking buffs from the inside out. You know, a lot of times you see on TV, the survivors made a little mistake and they're wearing their buff inside out. They're like, dang it, can't you just fix that? Well, this one, even though no one's ever worn this buff on TV, it does look good from the inside out. It kind of, those colors remind me, that light orange color reminds me of the Survivor Micronesia Fans Tribe buff color. Even though I don't have that one, if I were to have that, I feel like that'd be kind of the color, that little light orange little feel. So, after every Survivor buff review, I'm going to give each buff a rating from 0 to 100. Now, everything I say in this review influences this rating, so I am meticulously combining all the data, looking through every fiber of this buff to give you a perfect 0 to 100 rating on whatever buff I'm reviewing. So, without further ado, this buff gets an 83 out of 100 rating. Honestly, it is a very good looking buff. You know, it's not a classic, but it is just a bit of a collector's buff. You know, it's never been on a season, of course, but if you just want something to commemorate Survivor as a whole, you can't really choose what buff you want to get. This is definitely a good all-around buff to get. It gets a B rating, and that's gonna do it for this rating. I'll see you guys in the next buff review. Peace.